This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin.
Welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Today is Tuesday, January the 7th, 2025. We're so glad you could join us. Coming up a little later on in the program, we'll be talking with Jason Meyer of agmarket.net to find out what happened in the markets today. But first, let's talk with the folks at the National Pork Board and how they're changing the way they market and approach to consumers and how they're able to set pork up to be more profitable in 2025. We're here with the folks at the National Pork Board here on Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, talking with Kristen Hicks-Roof. She's Director of Human Nutrition with the National Pork Board, and also Emily Krause. She is Director of Health and Wellness Initiatives with the National Pork Board. Ladies, thanks so much for joining us here today. We're talking a little bit about what we're doing with pork to help drive it here, for lack of better terminology. And Emily, I guess I'll start with you here. Maybe remind our audience about what the drivers are, the purchase drivers are for pork here in this marketplace.
Absolutely. The top three drivers of pork purchase drivers are balance or nutrition, convenience, and taste. And they really play a lot into one another, and we're excited to talk about that with you.
Okay, and so let's go with Kristen here. How has the National Pork Board really applied the research, the science into that marketing so you can move forward on that?
Yeah, so as Emily had mentioned, taste and flavor are one of the key drivers. So it's why people are choosing the foods they're eating, especially when it comes to pork. So we have recent research to show that pork has over 110 flavor nuances. So it's really integrating some of that science to be able to translate that into why is pork on the plate and why do people want to consume it on a daily basis. We also have other research that we talk about pork on our health and wellness team about pork is the carrier food to getting people to eat more plants. So we have several research papers, both here in the United States and also in Korea, where fresh pork consumption is the largest protein consumption. And what you see is when you're looking at pork consumers versus non-consumers, those pork consumers have higher intakes of key nutrients and fruits and vegetables, which we want everyone to be eating more fruits and vegetables as health professionals. So we take this science and really integrate it and act on it in conversations with health professionals and our consumers.
Okay, very good. And then to kind of follow up on that, Emily, if you could maybe explain, because it's one thing to make the claim and how that works, but you're also getting these health and wellness people on board to help tell that story, get that information out. Can you tell us how that's been working?
Absolutely. So at the National Pork Board, we have what we call our Pork and Partners Healthcare Professional Community. And this is a community where we really want to share this information. We want to share the latest nutrition research, handouts that have that information, recipes. We're doing that through in-person events, at conferences, handouts. We have a monthly email, and we also have an Instagram. So we're really communicating all this information in a variety of ways to different channels to really reach a broader audience. And what's really exciting is that we've had this Pork and Partners Healthcare Professional Community for just under 2 years, and we now have over 2,600 healthcare professionals within that space. And we've ask them what makes the most difference to you. What is the most accessible way that you're getting this information? And people love all of our content and all the ways that we're sharing it. They're seeing that webinars are a really accessible way to get that information. We did hold 3 webinars in 2024, and we're looking to do more webinars in 2025 to be able to share this latest research. There's a lot coming down the pipeline, and we want to make sure that our healthcare professionals are equipped and educated to be able to share this information with their patients and clients.
Okay, and Emily, I'm going to keep it with you here. As we look at, getting this out and marketing it to the consumers, obviously we know, especially since the pandemic, when people started getting into the kitchen more, and now we're seeing some of them stay in the kitchen, the lifestyle is not the same as it was when we were growing up or when our parents were growing up. Obviously, convenience is a big factor, but you don't want to sacrifice the quality of the product and what you're going to get out of that, primarily the taste and the nutritional value. So how do you get that to work and get those to work together with that convenience?
Absolutely. So one of the things that Kristen and I have started with is talking about cooking temperature. And I know that's not the most fun, but food safety and eating experience are really important to getting people to even get to that convenience factor and getting to purchase pork. And so we've really talked with healthcare professionals who we found have been giving outdated information on cooking temperatures. That 145 followed by that 3-minute rest is going to be that best way to get a good eating experience. From there, we really go into, there's all these different preparation methods that you can utilize. And there's this misconception that people think that it takes so long to create a delicious and nutritious meal. And that's not the case at all. I'm going to give you a really fun fact. So in the US, there are actually more people that have air fryers now than have coffee makers, which I was shocked by. I was a late adopter to the air fryer game, but I understand why people love it, and it's here to stay. And so at the National Pork Board, we're looking to provide more of those air fryer pork recipes so people know what to do with pork in the air fryer. It's super simple. Kristen mentioned some of the flavor research that we had come out. In that research, we actually found that the pork tenderloin, the leanest cut of pork, when cooked in the air fryer, is going to be the most tender and the most flavorful cut of pork across all the cuts, across all of the cooking preparations. So the tenderloin in the air fryer is super flavorful and super easy to prepare. I'm also a huge fan of the slow cooker. I use the slow cooker probably once a week in my household when cooking pork. And what I love about both of those preparation methods is that we are able to cook our veggies right along with our pork and get them to the dinner table. Kristen said it before, dietitians love when people eat their fruits and veggies. And so if we're able to, at the National Pork Board, say, hey, this is a really easy, convenient way to prepare pork, and also you can get the rest of your meal prepared right along with it using the air fryer or the slow cooker, that's a huge win. And Kristen and I are talking to consumers, but my job is mainly working with healthcare professionals. And so if we can equip those healthcare professionals, giving them the tools that they can then give to their patients and clients, that is a huge win.
All right, we brought up flavor a couple times here in this discussion, and obviously flavor is the ultimate thing the consumers are looking for, because if they don't like it, they're not going to keep buying it. And you want to make sure it's something that they want to make sure they're bringing to their table. So, Kristen, can you talk a little bit about why we want to make sure we spotlight that flavor on those profiles? We talked about 110 different flavor profiles that pork can have. Why is it so important that we highlight that?
Yeah, so pork really wins when it comes to flavor, and that's going to be part of the new 2025 consumer campaign, really showcasing how pork is flavorful, and pork has so much to offer between all the different cuts and cooking methods. But when we think about our younger consumers, and let's think about Gen Z, maybe Gen Alpha, and we now know Gen Beta is just coming in 2025. But these younger consumers are interested in culinary exploration. They're interested in different global cuisines. And you see in many kind of food trends reports that 2025 is going to be the year of global flavors. And again, that's where pork truly shines. Pork is one of the most consumed proteins in the world. So how do we take the delicious preparation methods and cooking and different cuts that are consumed in countries all around the world, and we embrace those here in the United States? So one example is we've been working in the K-12 audience, really to talk about how do we bring pork to the table in K-12, really utilizing fresh pork. And what we see and what we're developing is over 20 recipes that are embracing the global flavors approach in K-12. So they're simple, but they're driving in on flavor, and they're really embracing the cultural appropriateness and inclusivity that these K-12 and younger consumers are really wanting. So it's really exciting at the National Pork Board that now we are launching this recipe ebook, which again has over 20 recipes. And this is just one way to show how we're reaching in K-12, but you'll continue to see what the National Pork Board is doing, again, on the health professional side, as well as across consumers, showcasing pork in not only its flavor, but its cultural relevancy in cuisines around the world. So I think that's really where pork wins.
All right, and Emily, final thoughts here. Do you have anything else you'd want to add about that whole work that's being done from the flavor aspect of it and how that ties into what the work you're doing?
Absolutely. So with healthcare professionals, of course, we are focused on nutrition, especially registered dietitians. But the idea that we can tie nutrition and flavor together is a huge win. People don't think that eating a nutritious meal means that it's going to taste good. And we are here to prove them wrong. And so when we can tie those two together, healthcare professionals really enjoy it. We've been taking this not only on our channels online, but also in person. We've brought together many dietitians. Actually, in 24, we brought together 3 different groups of dietitians in Iowa and brought them to a teaching kitchen to teach them how to prepare pork in not only different cuts, different preparation methods, but also different cuisine inspirations. And that really got them to see not only is cooking pork easy, convenient, but it also is incredibly flavorful, and they got to see that for themselves. And then they've been able to then go out and use that with their patients and clients. Several of the dietitians that we had actually worked for retailers across the US and have been able to use that within their retailers, within cooking demonstrations on TV segments, which is really fun to see on Kristen and I's end, that this is expanding so much further once dietitians feel comfortable with this and they have that backing of both nutrition and flavor. We also were able to bring this idea to the National Dietitian Conference in Minneapolis earlier last fall, and partnered with Minnesota Pork to bring this to over 800 dietitians at our booth. And dietitians are really connecting to this idea that nutrition and flavor can come together, and there's so much more that we can have with this conversation moving forward.
All right. Well, lots for us to think about and lots we've learned here today. Kristen, Emily, I thank you so much for taking a few minutes to visit with us, and we look forward to hearing more. Thanks to the folks at the National Pork Board for joining us here today. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, we'll run down the closing markets. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net. Welcome back to Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. It's time now to run down the closing markets with the folks at agmarket.net, and being joined today by Jason Meyer. Jason, what did we see come out of that grain trade today?
Well, the grain trade started in the red in the overnight. In the early morning, we were down pretty hard, I thought. But as the day progressed, we actually had corn finish unchanged and beans slightly lower. Weather forecast going home last night, we're putting a little bit more moisture in for some dry areas in South America. But during the midday here, they're kind of taking some of that wet weather out. That gave us a little bit of a reason to rally. And I think the funds we saw yesterday in the CFTC report that they're adding to their corn and bean positions. So I think the funds want to continue to defend their long. So that kind of helped the market close off the early morning lows that we saw here today.
So outside of Brazilian weather, Jason, was there any other major market movers? And is there any positioning being done, you think, ahead of the WASDE report and that year-end report from USDA coming Friday?
Yeah, I do think there's some positioning squaring coming ahead of the report on Friday. But the big thing continues to be the weather in South America. Our exports have been lacking a little bit, so that's maybe getting a few people a little bit nervous as we've started the year. But we should be in a period of time where export pace out of the U.S. slows down and switches to South America.
All right. So then moving on to the livestock side of things, what did we see in those cattle and hogs today?
The cattle market continues to be on fire, especially the feeder market. We're seeing some cash trade early this week over $200. So pretty impressive. The hog market, especially the front end, it seems like the funds were heavily long and they're continuing to bail out of their position. So that's putting a lot of pressure on February hogs today. And then there's some talk that we might have a strike on the eastern ports here. That could have an impact on the hog markets. But yeah, nearby hogs continue. I think we're down 6 days in a row today here.
Well, if folks out there want to talk about some of the market strategies, some of the plans they want to make, what's the best way for them to get in touch with agmarket.net?
Go to our website, agmarket.net, and contact me or one of my teammates, and we'd be glad to help you.
All right, Jason, we thank you so much for the insight, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you, Dustin. Have a good day, and everybody stay warm out there.
That again was Jason Meyer of agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and take a look at the closing numbers on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen. March corn up a quarter at $4.58 even. March soybeans down a half at $9.97 and a quarter. Soybean meal down $3.80 at $3.0350. Soy oil 92 cents higher at $41.25. Chicago wheat up 2 cents at $5.42 and a half. Kansas wheat up 2 and a half at $5.55 and 3/4. At press time, Minneapolis spring wheat was up 1 3/4 at $5.94 even. Oats down a nickel at $3.26. On the Merck live cattle up 37 cents at $195.57. Feeders up $2.10 at $268.40. Lean hogs down 47 cents at $79.17. Pork cutouts unchanged at $92.20. Class 3 milk down 20 cents at $20.44. And that's been a check of our closing market recap, and that brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com, as well as follow us on Facebook, X, and on here on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you're notified each time we put out a new video project. Also, don't forget you can find past episodes of Iowa Ag Matters, Weekend Ag Matters, and much more online at iowaagnet.com, as well as get yourself signed up for our marketing podcasts. Analysis sent 3 times a day, free of charge to your mobile device, openings, middays, and closings. Find out more, iowaagnet.com. From the IRN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman, Randy Peterson, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. We thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.